late start, but our previous discussions overran, so we'll try and canter through this quite quickly. First item on the agenda is apologies for absence.
We've got apologies from Lindsay Gaskell, Jane Mills and MOS.
And apologies from...
No, it's not on Judy.
Oh, that's right. Put my hand up. Okay, open forum. This is to receive any questions from members of the public here present. There aren't any. If anybody does put any questions on the chat, the live chat on YouTube, we'll pick them up at the end of the meeting, if that's okay with everybody. Yeah. Item 3 is declarations of interest, where councillors have to disclose any prejudicial pecuniary interests. None? No. Thank you very much. Minutes of the last meeting, which are attached. Somebody move those as correct record?
Sure.
Mike, thank you very much. That's moved and seconded. All those in favour? Thank you. Item 5, environmental schemes, town centre planting. Two issues to pick up on this, and looking across at Councillor Tomway. Going back a year and a half, 2 years probably, part of the aspiration with the town centre work, the public realm work, was to change the ugly, sort of inappropriate modern lamps in the vicinity of Gormless. We finally got Gormless's light reinstated and in sympathy with how it was originally. But at either side of Gormless, there's these sort of like 1970s style lights, and the town council did want to change those over to more appropriate Victorian style lamps. However, the town centre public realm work, there isn't any money left in that. Now, Pendle Council think that they can fund one lamp out of the budget when they get into the new financial year, and an option for us to get both of those lamps converted is for the town council to buy the other one, and then Pendle will fit the two of them together. The estimated cost of acquiring a lamp is £700. So it's a case of, does the town council want to use some of this environmental money to purchase a lamp? So we've got 3 lamps in keeping with that area. Councillor Thompson.
Thank you, Chair. That bus stop area now, with the addition of Gormless and the soon to be reduced clock on the bus shelter, is going to be a really excellent entrance to town by public transport, and it's also adjacent to the main road as well. And I think really we should have it looking its best. And those lampposts really do look a bit naff, put it that way. And I think that yes, we should have Victorian style lamps on those posts to match with the new aesthetic of the area, and provide a really nice, good entrance to town. I'll do.
Jodie?
I think just to follow on from what Tom says, to add the continuity of obviously the Victorian design and everything else, it would aesthetically make it a very nice entrance to the town.
Okay, so it's moved and seconded. John?
No, it's seconded. Well, actually, officially seconded that.
Right, moved, seconded, thirded.
Yeah, that's right.
Dissenting voice? Okay, those all in favour, please show. Thanks very much. The other issue that we've got on environmental schemes, at the last full town council meeting, there was a discussion about the rear beds on the town square, where the Bloom Group has been going on designs for those beds, and we had a discussion about using yew and the consumption of berries, which would be unhealthy. And following that, Jodie and I think it was after the first aid course that we bumped into a set of Bloom volunteers who've been beavering away, tidying up different beds in the town centre. And they said, well, we don't have to have any berries because we can buy male yews. Sorry, that sounds wrong. Male yew plants. And Jodie and I both thought it was, yeah, that's a good solution.
There's nothing enticing.
Yeah, it's important to keep Blue volunteers on board. And as was pointed out to us, we've got loads of other poisonous plants all over the place. All the laurel in the War Memorial area is poisonous, and it's virtually every other plant is poisonous anyway, so it doesn't make any difference. So I hope that the committee would agree to the purchase of male yew hedging in order to facilitate the scheme. And what the Blue Group want to do is have a solid hedge. And the reason why they want yew is because there's nothing else that would fit the bill. They want the solid hedge in the centre bed, and then if I pass this round, they want to replicate or adapt a design that is at Harlow Cargo Gardens in Harrogate, where there are two sloping hedges sort of intersecting like that. So if I pass that round, people will be able to see what I'm talking about. Chris, you wanted to come in?
As the ill-informed person who put this spanner in the works originally, I withdraw my original suggestion and go along with the Blue Group entirely.
Okay.
Thank you.
Any further comment? Mike? That's moved and seconded. All those in favour, please show. Thank you very much. That's carried. So I think really that's a recommendation to the full council that we should sort of reverse the previous decision. And linked to that, the Bloom volunteers are concerned that when this planting is carried out, there's a risk of trampling in those beds. There was certainly trampling when we did the switch on event. There were the fireworks from the Rainbow Centre yard, and people did stand in those areas to see them. So the concern that we're spending money putting plants in, but if they get trampled, they're just going to get trampled and they won't thrive or perhaps even survive. Another example, when we did the circus show and the fire show at the Ice and Fire event, where certainly kids were stood on the walls and perhaps stepping back onto the soil as well.
No, they're standing on the soil.
Okay. The suggestion is that we have some low palisade fencing that we can pop round the beds when there's a risk of people trampling on them, just to try and protect them. Mike?
Yeah, small fencing.
Well, we want to be hurricane fencing. When we have really busy events, like down on the square, the whole of those beds is fenced off.
Yeah, fenced them off.
Yeah, so people can't go on and that's sort of like a big event. But we probably have the peak audiences when we do switch on. So we don't want to be putting hurricane fencing up for all different sorts of reasons. But if we had some palisade fencing, that would probably do the trick and help protect those plants. Thoughts?
Yeah.
Do it.
Chair.
Yeah,
Chair,
right.
we approach the town council and ask for funding. We'll do that. Yeah.
No, we are the town
Oh,
council.
I'll do it.
I'll
I
second
think the
that.
purpose of it shouldn't be.
This is what that emotion was saying.
We got delegated
We have got authority.
authority to deal with schemes and all that sort of stuff, as long as we're within the budgets that have been set by the town council. So ultimately, it is the town council, but they've given the power to us to do it. So we go with it. Yeah, that's moved then. Electric wires.
I said light bulb, light beds up, did you have to see?
Right.
Light bulb.
Councillor.
It's up.
Light bulb.
Yes. Right. We're not here in a military sense saying that this should be lit up. Tom.
Yes, I'm just conscious of the fact that, you know, when we do events like this during the daytime, the beds, very attractive as they will be a, you know, a good focus for the town centre and the visitors. So we need to be buying attractive fencing.
But could it not be a fencing that was put in like when it goes dark? Just me?
Just making a rod for everyone back.
Unoffensive fencing.
Yes.
Fencing.
I acknowledge.
Right. I mean, just thinking a bit laterally, we're in the final stages of planning the fourth of the COVID recovery grant funding scheme, and part of that will be a croquet lawn with artificial turf and the Red Queen, Queen of Hearts, you know, chopping off people's heads and things like that. And it has been suggested that palisade fencing would be an appropriate thing to have around the perimeter of that.
Yeah.
So we could perhaps get the palisade fencing for a multiplicity of purposes and job solved, but we'll have to see.
Anyway, if I could continue,
Oh,
as long as it's attractive, I will second the purpose of this fencing.
okay.
As long as it's attractive.
Yeah.
Right. So it's moved then that, subject to it being attractive, the clerk be authorised to purchase palisade fencing for temporary installation on the town square, and wherever we might otherwise want it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Purchase fencing. To purchase fencing.
Yes.
No, it's got subject to it being attractive.
Attractive.
Pretty unoffensive.
It's got to be
Subject to it being appropriate.
right. So, what colour do we want? No, we're not.
White.
Let's move on.
Right. Are there any other environmental or town centre planting scheme issues? Any decisions that we need to be taking tonight? No? Rob? Okay. Events programme for 22-23. We did draw up a programme at a recent meeting. I can't remember if it was town council, if it was here, looking back at the minutes. But it's set out at the bottom of the first page of the minutes. So we've got St George's Day on 23rd of April.
You missed one because we've now got a March one that you haven't got on here.
Yeah, but this is, we're talking about next financial year.
Oh, right, that's fine.
Yeah,
No,
we'll pick up the March event in the next time.
Sorry, Chair, if I might. It just seems a lot in June.
The beacons, the Jubilee beacon.
Right,
Yeah.
this is what we've already agreed to.
No, there was more, wasn't there?
another market.
We've added something in.
I did see it, there seems to be more in that.
Well,
Background.
We're doing bands on the square, 7th of June. Before that, we've got the town crier event which is the 14th of May. And that was the one that we omitted from the programme when we last discussed it. So we think we know where we're going with that. Band on the Square, that's in process. Things are being booked, know where we're going with it. We do have a hiccup when I checked the licence. Our licence says that we can sell alcohol for 4 days a year at Band on the Square. Yes, yes. Friday to Monday. And they've changed the bank holiday to Thursday, Friday. So we're going to have to apply for a variation to our licence in order to get rid of that encumbrance, else we won't be able to sell alcohol on Thursday. We don't know what to do Friday, Saturday, Sunday. So I don't think we need authority, but just belt and braces.
This year I don't think we should sell alcohol at all. Should we?
Okay.
That's all because you're not coming.
Right. So I'm not sure. You see, I'm the premises supervisor. My name above the town square, or it's Joe. We need to put in for a variation.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sadly, the beacon we've agreed to do previously, and we have a bit of a plan in order to get that one sorted out. Following the discussion that we had at, I think it was the town council, the fair that is penciled in for Valley Gardens, the proposal is to hold that at Letcliffe Park, and the Bloom Group are very kindly applying for funding in order for that to be expanded, and it would be a Platinum Park picnic, or Platinum picnic in the park, or some sort of PPP in the park. And there are grants available from the Arts Council, which Blue Group can apply for, but the Town Council can't. So working with the Blue Group, we're hopeful of getting some funding for that. In July, is it Day of Dance?
She hasn't come back to me about it.
Okay. We've had an approach. We're looking for something to hang a monthly market on in the town square, which the market itself will be self-sustaining, but we wanted to put events in with it so that it's more of a thing. And we've had an approach about a day of dance, which would be organised by another, that element of it anyway. We need to sort of run with that if it's a goer. If it is a goer, we can have a freestanding market, or we can sort of come up with something else.
A day?
I think that's in discussion with whoever it is that wants to do it, really, isn't it?
It's a shame it's not May, because that would work well with May Day.
Well, I think we are where we are. It's other people who are wanting to do it, and we're just seizing the opportunity, really. The beach, and this does need a little bit of discussion. The proposal is that we move away from the way we've operated the beach in previous years. And several factors, COVID being one of them, where we're suggesting it needs to be a bit more al fresco rather than enclosed. The other issue is a lot of the volunteers that we've had previously, some of them were unable to do it because they're older now or in poorer health, and a lot of our teenage volunteers are now in the 20s, so they're working or whatever, and so they're not available. Because we've had this break, we haven't had any fresh people coming through. So trying to run the beach in a different way with a less commitment for staffing it, whether by volunteers or paid people, and at a lower cost because the infrastructure will be reduced, is my thinking anyway. And the idea would be to have same size beach, but less covered area, and seating to be outdoors for the most part, as we had last year. So it's sort of like picking up the best of what we did last summer and combining it with a beach that would still be the attraction for families and people with young children. So thoughts. Jodie was sort of making assenting noises.
Yeah, I mean, obviously with everyone in the town square over the summer last year and has not been able to do that, it'd be great to have something there for the kids, i.e. a big covered sandpit. The parents would still sit on the seats and buy food from the shops and help the local businesses. The children are there. It'd be a slightly lesser version of what we'd normally have, but we also wouldn't need as many volunteers and things like that for something like that, because there's something for all ages.
You have to consider limiting the number of children in the beach at any time as well.
Yes.
We've never done that previously.
I know, but the new world with COVID and whatnot.
Kids
So
get things a lot, and kids
COVID's
pass them
probably
to
the
each
less.
other all the time. And they give it to adults as well, and anybody that's in contact with kids that are in contact with other kids, which happens, are at risk of catching most things: parasites, viruses, infections, more kids.
You're really selling it.
Infects. I've worked with kids.
Well, to be honest, it's self-regulated,
Yeah.
because if it's too busy, parents say, "Oh, we'll come back later."
Yeah.
So it evens itself out, and from that point of view, I'm not particularly concerned. I mean, there are safeguarding issues, and if we do change the format, I need to be certain that we are doing things in such a way that children aren't being put at risk. And COVID is one of the things that we need to take into consideration. But yeah, Chris.
Sorry, I think John had first. As far as the marquee and ventilation, etc., I am guessing that the complete roof was a big part of the benefit of it in previous years with mixture of weather.
Yeah.
If we do want to ventilate it, can we just have a roof with no sides?
Yeah. That's the thinking, and how far we would extend. I mean, my thinking is we put it towards the back in the centre of the square, facing Albert Road, and essentially in front of that centre bed. And we could have 2 bays of the marquee covers the sand, and we could extend the bays on an open-sided basis, and we can contain the beach area. I don't want to go into the detail, but we need to prevent contamination and all that sort of stuff. So, I think we can do it. It won't be as good as what we've done previously, but but I think it'll be good enough. I mean, in the sense of
Yeah.
the security and the contamination, all that sort of stuff. But yeah, it's doable, and it would require less people.
Yeah,
John?
part of what I was going to say was coming in there, Chris. I was thinking in terms of, you said that we were possibly short on volunteers for things like clearing, things like that. Well, what worked quite well was when the places that sold food out in the square looked after the tables that they served. Is there something we could do to get a certain allocation of tables to a particular food place and say that you're responsible for looking after these ones? And then obviously they get the benefit of having more customers sitting outside eating their food, drinking their drink, but they also have to just tidy it up.
Yeah, I think the way that we've operated the beach previously, typically we've had, well, minimum of 2 and generally 3 people who have been there to supervise comings and goings, and you know, sort of the whole booking thing, and you know, knowing the numbers of, you know, how many people we've had in and out, and all that sort of stuff. The meeting and greeting, that's 3 people. And what I'm suggesting is that we just do away with all of that. That is not something that can be done by town centre businesses. You know, they're not going to employ somebody for 6 hours for him to go and stand supervising the beach, and I don't think it would be reasonable to expect that.
So no, that wasn't really what I was suggesting. It was more along the lines of, you were talking before about having areas that are open and having people sitting outside. I think possibly if the weather is bad, which like I said was addressed earlier on, if the weather's bad and there's nowhere to sit or stand, then people just won't go to it, will they? And I just thought if we've got something there where people could do that and get refreshments whilst they were there. I'm not talking about administering the whole site, I just meant in terms of tables and clearing up rather than actually.
Yeah, I mean, my view on that is, you know, we have accepted the concept of casual workers. You know, we actually pay somebody to put the tables and chairs out in the morning, we pay somebody to put the tables and chairs away in an evening, and you know, we accept that that is a cost of doing it. The saving is that we're not paying for hundreds of square metres of covered marquee, carpeting it and all the rest of the coverage. So, you know, it will be a less expensive way of doing it. We've got Mandy and then Jodie and somebody else indicated.
I was just going to say that you couldn't really allocate it to the town centre businesses because that's not fair on all the other businesses that aren't on the square. So you'd have like the likes of the coffee shop, the pie shop, where people go and use those and then come onto the square. So you'd be alienating all the other businesses that weren't on the square.
Jodie?
Just sort of to say what Mandy's saying, last year when we started it, we ended up getting some backlash from certain businesses because people were breaking the rules. Well, we hadn't given any particular rules. And I don't think Barwick Town Council is in any position to be telling surrounding businesses or periphery businesses how they should and shouldn't run the business. If one of their customers wants to go and take food and sit in that area, they shouldn't have to pick a certain area, because then you get arguments over, oh, they get more shade and they get more light, and we're interfering in people's private businesses rather than actually running, facilitating those businesses.
Okay. Callum?
Unless allocation would be a nightmare as well.
Yeah.
How many tables do you give to each business?
There were a lot of people eating their own food there as well.
Yeah.
As well.
Which
Was nice.
Yeah, you
Okay.
can bring picnics and sit and eat them, yeah.
For the time being, I mean, we've got several events before we get to the beach. Are we, you know, on the right lines? Are people comfortable with what was said? Yeah. Yeah. Okay, so we'll carry on in that vein, and don't blame us because we just agreed to it.
Details to follow.
Yeah.
1st to the 27th of August were the deputies was suggested.
First to the 27th, so not all.
No.
It'll set up in July, just
It's just, yeah, it was just, that's one of the questions I was all, you small spaces.
Yeah, well,
Very high,
Um,
we spoke about in the closed meeting.
yeah, we're saying 4 weeks, and in July there was this day of dance possibility, which would be the hook for a market. During the beach, the market would be aligned to the beach. Okay. Kite festival down Victory Park. We have got an application. Have we got an application form?
Yeah, it's in there.
Yeah. Do you want to explain about this?
Yeah, been approached by some members of the gym that they want to put on an event, a fitness festival promoting health and well-being, offering exercise workshops, health food and health sector comments. Sorry, I can't read today. They were looking at using the bowling pitch, bowling green at Victory Park, or alternatively Billy Lecker if we wouldn't let them do that. So they want to hire several things off the town council. I want to know if we're happy with putting the event on. There is an application.
I've discussed this, or Joe's discussed it with me, and we're not in a position to hire out the sort of things that they're asking for. So they're wanting, you know, a marquee like what we've got on the town square, but not our marquee. You know, that's hired in. They're wanting a stage. They're wanting quite a lot of stuff, power generators. So, what I've been saying to Joe is, well, look, they need to go to the people who provide that equipment, and you know, I don't know if you'd let them have the sort of contacts that we've got, but
I need to make sure you blind.
there's no way that we could do it. I mean, we have enough on setting up its own events without setting up somebody else's event. And if we were doing that, the town council would need to cover its costs. So, you know, we'd be looking, it's a bit of a non-starter really.
Well, one of them they want is 21 stalls around 3 sides of the permitted space. That's based on them being 3 meters in length. At one point, Dave, during about on this same day, putting a market on the town square, which would mean our stalls were available. That hasn't gone into the schedule.
Yeah. Well, we were talking about, was it the day of dance? I can't remember now.
No, it's the day before the one at Leckman Park.
In June, yeah. Yeah. So, you know, we can't hire out the stalls if we're using them.
Are we putting that in though? That's the question.
Well, the thinking was, we'll have to hire some transport to take stuff up to Leckcliffe Park, and it would be relatively easy for us to have a town square market as opposed to something up at Leckcliffe Park on that Saturday, because we'd be moving stuff from A to B to C rather than, you know, sort of 2 separate operations. So I don't think there's any of our equipment that is in a position to be hired out. And if they want to hire the park,
I was going to say, within the space shouldn't really be an issue. You can absolutely let them use the space. If there's equipment that we have got that they need that we're not using, then so be it. But if we're using it or we haven't got it because it doesn't belong to us, then there's nothing we can do about that.
no. Tom?
I think one of the main problems with using our equipment is we're the ones who know how to use it. We're the ones who have to set it up and run it throughout the day. I mean, some of our kit has, you know, a value attached to them that is a bit eye-watering. I mean, I certainly wouldn't let someone else use
both comments, Chris and Tom. The option really for us as a council is to say, look, the space is available to you. We can't support you in terms of hiring anything. Go away, have a look at what you would need. Here's a list of people that you could potentially source it from. Come back to us and tell us what your proposal is. But in principle, we could say yes to the event and the space. Just come back to us and tell us when you can provide yourself with a stage, marquee and the generators, etc. And we'll see if that's suitable for what we're proposing.
Yeah. Yeah.
So we have the stage, we will, if we don't use it, will we rent it to
I think we should just have a
If we're
flat
setting
note.
it up
No.
so
Yeah.
that
Right, that's fine.
you know, we're not going to kill ourselves.
No.
No.
Setting a stage up in the Victory Park and then taking it to bits.
Yeah,
taking
that's
it
fine.
to collective
That's
park.
the answer.
I mean, you know, it's hard enough work already without sort of
Adding to it.
doubling it up.
Yep.
You know, concept, hire stages out, they're the professionals. That's who they should be going to.
So last time when the circus hired the space, we rented to them as £250. Are you happy with that?
That's £250 a day.
Yeah.
Yeah, and there's the events application form requires them to, you know, third party, public liability
Yeah.
insurance, all the risk assessments and so on and so on and so forth. So, yeah,
Yeah.
all right. So,
We can't
so happy to hire the park.
For the gazebo.
And right, shouldn't say that. Okay, right. So that's that one. I think the other ones here that we've got on the list, beating the bounds. I'm not sure whether we've got a leader, so just leave that in the bears. Remembrance and switch on, the dates are in the diary. And the other one that we've just done, which was quite successful, was the solstice celebration, which we could do in a lesser fashion this next year, if we want. Tom?
I'd be kind of worried if, you know, branding it as the same event and then people coming from far with, you know, the expectation of this previous one and being disappointed, to be honest. But I'm also aware of the cost involved with what we just did. Yeah.
Well, I mean, I think we can do it, and you know, I want to do it at a standard. But yeah, the other one that we've literally just done is the Festival of Ice and Fire, which I think that went really, really well, and you know, was sufficiently novel, and it's something that we could build upon. But that wouldn't be something that we could do on a cut-down basis. You know, we'd have to get the right people in to do it for it to be a success. But I think we can build on that one. We can make that an outstanding event that people will come, you know, travel quite a distance to come and have a look at it. Yeah, well, if we're saving on the beach, we've got flexibility for other events. Yeah. We make a profit on Bands on the Square.
I would like to think Barnoldswick on the Square is going to be booked.
I think
We've
Banks
already
Square's
built
going to be
that in.
massive this year because it's been missed, sorely missed for the last 2 or so.
Yeah. Bands on the Square better get its variation for its licence.
Thursday.
They're dry Thursday.
With the markets is that?
Yeah.
Thursday.
Thursday.
Yeah, can we get a glass of water?
In one of the milk bottles.
Okay. So thinking about it's 2022-23. So I've mentioned the possibility of ice and fire again. This year we're doing food festival, and we've got Barnoldswick in Wonderland yet to come. So, you know, possibly we could repeat some of those and do a bit of a riff on them. Jodie?
The issue is they're not covered by our budget. They would only COVID recovery grants, unless we can get decent grants to do it the same, like you said, all singing, all dancing. We could struggle to do them. So
Well,
I would
yeah.
take a deep breath before committing to them.
Pencil in a white pencil.
Yeah.
You are.
Pencil in with white.
Yeah.
White gentle
Yeah.
pencil.
And bear in mind, when we discuss the budget, we actually reduce the amount of money for events in order to make things stack up. Well, it was an increase from the current year's level, which we then cut back a little bit. So it wasn't a cut, it was a reduction in the increase. But yeah, I think it's doable. Bands on the Square is critical. That happens early enough in the year. If we don't wash the space with Bands on the Square, there's less flexibility later in the year. So, yeah. Yeah? Okay. Are there any further ones that people are thinking of? No?
When's the town crier event?
14th of May.
All right, thank you.
Yeah.
Do you want to do George?
And I think Marjorie is politely just declining that.
You said, would you like to be a judge?
Yes. I've done it for a few years, I might as well carry on.
And obviously the chairman will be...
Sorry.
14th of May.
Oh, it's been changed. It'll be whoever's next year.
You know, when is this annual meeting? Might be
It'll be after
Jodie.
their meeting.
Right. Anyway, that's to be sorted, isn't it?
Yeah, it has to be because I'm away on the 2nd. 10th or 11th because I'm going to have to get my agenda out early to go on my holidays.
Oh, such a shame.
Right. Enough said. Okay. Is there anything further on the events programme? No? Good. Item 7 then. To receive a verbal update on events held and planned events under this funding. Well, we have got the second of 2 evaluation reports, which we can hand out.
It only came this afternoon.
To be honest, I don't think we should really discuss it at this meeting. If we put it on the agenda of the full council, we can have all the evaluation reports that we've got. We get into the public domain and people can make of them what they want. Suffice to say that we've had 2 really good events in December and January. The food festival, which is this Saturday, is shaping up to be really, really good.
So, sorry, I've got your leaflet from all. They came today too.
And Barnoldswick in Wonderland,
I'm sorry.
although there's some ice to be documented across, is again going to be a stonker. You're all reading these reports now, so.
Who's the support from the evaluator?
Yes. No, it's a lady called Laura.
She's lovely, I have to say. John, can you read that back? Yeah. Personable.
This Saturday, and indeed on the 14th of, not the 14th of March, the 12th of March, if anybody's available to help with the event on the day, that would be fantastic. Or and indeed, if you want to put pies in, as long as you're not involved with the judging. Are you doing a pie, Mike?
No, I'm going to offer to do some judging.
Just make a main pie.
They
Okay.
make an in pie, but it's got to have potatoes in it.
Yeah.
We often do potato pie.
Okay. Right. Well, if you're a good pie judge, then I think there's a vacancy waiting for your name.
You volunteering?
Is that the site?
It's just volunteer.
Yeah, I've got my child, which you can
Yeah, yeah,
sit
yeah.
beside me.
Yeah. I mean, there's loads of activities for children, and there is a fantastic selection of nibbles to be tasted on the food trail. So they're really good.
Oh,
Yeah.
I shall put the 12.
Right, I'm not here, I'm at the wedding, so it would be
Well, the pie judging, it says 12 noon on the schedule. In practice, it's going to be 12:30 because one of the prospective judges may be tied up with doing something else at that time. But good. Yeah. All right.
full from rec.
Anything further on that? No.
We're good.
Item 8 then, and on the town square we've currently got the remainder of the, I think it was originally 120 plastic chairs which the town council purchased several years ago for the beach. And there's been quite a lot of attrition over the years, so I'm not sure just how many we've got left. It might be in the order of 50 or 60, don't quote me. And some of them they're serviceable, but the plastic on them it's got quite brittle, so
You nick your bums sometimes.
tends to break. And given that we've got issues with storage capacity, in other words, we haven't got enough room, and we've got the wooden chairs now that, you know, do the same job as the plastic ones, I'm suggesting that we declare them surplus and offer them to a good home.
Offer them one to use for those.
We can use
The
one of
white,
those.
yeah.
We can use
Yeah,
one of those.
Nick.
We do that.
Sharon, I move to the
Yep.
surface.
Okay. Right, moved and seconded that we declare them surplus requirements, and I would say, I mean, we're not selling them off, we find somebody that wants them really.
I'm just selling £1 each on Saturday. Yeah,
Come to the market.
honestly.
Got a
You can
little
have a
chair
spare
for summer.
in garage when you're at a party. Because they fold really flat.
Okay, I'll give you a quid. My brother's coming for tea, and there'll be 5 of us.
So it wasn't in the bottom?
Right,
Definitely wants a bigger one.
okay, well, I'm not quite sure on what basis we're disposing of them, but you know,
For
I just
me,
want short
share for me, we can either give them away, and those that aren't taken, just put them
in the skip.
in the
Yeah.
No, we did take a look at skip to the.
same time.
Okay, I think that brings us to the end of the agenda. Can I thank everybody very much for coming along? No, I think everybody's for coming along. And just check with Tom, has there been any questions on the open forum? No, so wish everybody a safe journey home and fair meeting close. Thank you very much.